Hello everyone, welcome to my guide on money. In this episode we're going to talk all about tourism. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you how hotels work, and then I'm going to focus on this. Now you need to unlock this with medals, but once you do, this can make you so much money. So we're going to be focusing on that quite a lot. But first, let's focus on hotels. So how do hotels work? Well, hotels have different phases. First phase is calling for tourists, which is actually what's happening right now. You can see that there are zeppelins going down to the hotel and bring people there. Now each zeppelin brings about 15 people, and once you have at least some tourists, the cycle begins. Of course, once the hotel is filled up, it will go faster. Now once the cycle ends, the hotel will send a signal and say that it wants to be emptied out. So the zeppelins will come, they will take the people away from the hotel, and once the hotel is empty, the cleaning will begin. The cleaning process takes a couple hours, it's nothing too long, and then again, as soon as the hotel is empty, it will call for the zeppelins again. Now the problem is that the zeppelins, they take quite a while to go back and forth between cities. So what often happens is that the hotel is long done with cleaning up and wants to get new people, but the zeppelins are not done. For one hotel, the regular one, you would ideally like to have around 4 zeppelins. I recommend having 8 between the other cities for this reason, because it takes, if you have 4, the moment the hotel is, for example, empty and calls to people, all the 4 zeppelins from the other cities can go at once and they can bring people. Now for the vertical ones, you actually only need 3, but for the regular ones, you need 4. So they will all come at once, so they will take this path just once, all together at one time. They'll bring the people there. Why do I recommend 8 then? Well, because when the cleaning up is done, the zeppelins are usually still traveling back to the other city, so you would have to wait till they get to the other city and then they would come back with new people. So if you have 8, a different set of 4 zeppelins can go to the hotel and bring them over. Unfortunately, you have a limit of 5 zeppelins per city, so at maximum you can have like 10 zeppelins between the other city. This is the next very important thing. The zeppelin must belong to other city, not the one where you have the hotel in. So if I have a hotel in Heavenly Water, even if I have 5 zeppelins at the Heavenly Water, they're not going to do anything. You also have a limit of how many tourists want to go to your city, and this limit is dependent on how many people live in the other city, and this is 10%. You can see that I have 134 in Heavenly Water. That's because in the SPS Center I have 850 people. At the Dream Workplace I have 500, which together is about 1,340, which 10% is 134. So that's the limit. Okay, so hotels make you about 30 per day. If you're comparing regular hotel and vertical hotel, verticals are a little bit better because they require less people, less tourists, so less zeppelins, which is a little bit better. The cycle makes 90. The cycle of a regular hotel they have right here makes only 80, and it needs 60 tourists. So vertical hotels are a little bit better. It makes 30 per day. So if you watch my money guide, if you didn't, I'll put a link to it down in the description. It will tell you all about which money building is the best. So definitely watch that. You'll see that hotel is not very good compared to other money building. It's kind of like you don't probably want to build it to make money. It takes a while. This cycle takes 3 days to finish. It's really slow, so you don't really want it. So why is there an option of that in the game? Why would you care about it? Well, that's this. Let me actually show you in a city where it's going to be better. Here, all of these stuff, this is like tourism buildings, and they require tourists to function, to make you money, and they can make you a lot of money, and I mean really a lot of money. So let's talk about it. I have made a table which you should be able to see on the screen right about now. Now, first thing I want to point out is that the tourists that you have in the city, they kind of try to get evenly divided. So for example, if you have 120 tourists in the city, they'll try to give, and 2 tourism buildings, they'll give 60 to each. Of course, if one of them doesn't need that much, then the leftover tourists will move to the other one. So you don't have to worry that any tourist is like staying at home. They're all moving to your tourist stuff as much as they can, so that's fine. Now, if you look at the table, you can see that per tourist per day, the statistic is actually fairly close. It ranges from 1.5 to 3.2, which is not much of a range. Again, in my money statistic, you can see that the range is like from 2 to like 13 or 15. So this is everything is fairly close per tourist per day, so it doesn't matter as much which one you pick. But if you're looking at the best option is the academia, which actually makes you the most per tourist per day. Now the second very good thing is the tree, which you can actually see on the screen right now, the ancient tree, because it has almost as good statistic per tourist per day, but it makes you much more per day. It makes you 240 instead of 144. It does require a lot more tourists, of course, but still. So if you need to ramp up money very, very quickly, tree can be even better options than academia. Okay, let me show you the statistic per person per day. Now you can see here that the best thing is actually the skyscrapers, and that's because the skyscraper does not need any people to work. That's a really cool feature of the skyscraper. Next thing that's really shine per person per day is the fountain, because it makes 45 per person per day, which is really, really nice. But that's not the only thing about this these tourism buildings, right? If they're making money, then you just want to build academias. Well, they have a lot of other benefits, and these other benefits are absolutely fantastic. Absolutely huge. So first thing we're going to talk about is a mall. Now, mall is a place for storing all raw materials and products. It works as a storage, and it gives you 200 per 6 spaces. So it's actually better than a regular storage, because of the highest upgraded regular storage, which you can see right here. The highest upgraded regular storage gives you 100 per 4 squares. So if you wanted to get a storage of 200, it would take 8 spaces, but this only needs 6, right? So already, even if it wasn't making you any money, it would already be better than a storage. And the storage, it doesn't require the tourist to work. The storage capacity always works, so that's really, really good. So malls are absolutely recommended. But aside from that, it also gives you a little bit of entertainment and aesthetics. That's not really the interesting part. Also, it gives you money. It gives you 84 per day. So imagine that you just have a regular storage that actually can be making you money. And each of these tourist buildings has something like this that makes it really cool. So mall, absolutely recommend. Definitely buy them. Next thing we're talking about is Natural History Museum. Now this one is it makes you 144 per day. As for the per tourist per day statistic, about equals everything else. But it gives you a huge amount of education. Compare it to university. University takes 210, takes 2 spaces. So university is actually better education-wise, but university does not give you any money. While this does. It also takes less people than university, so it can be useful if you don't want to take too many new people. This can be a really good building because A, it gives you money, and B, it gives you really, really good education. And the university takes 30 people, this only takes 15. However, again, you do need the tourists to make it work, so you need to have hotels in addition to this, and hotels that have enough of a capacity for enough people. I do like the museum, but I wouldn't say it's like a must-have, kind of like the mall is for me. Now, next thing we're going to talk about is the Epic Fountain. Epic Fountain is really, really cool because it makes a lot of money not per tourist, but per person per day. It also has some really high aesthetics, 200, which is very, very nice. If you compare it to some like parks, a large park which takes the same amount of space only gives you 54 aesthetics. So the fountain is really, it's like 4 times better, which is huge. So definitely great on aesthetics, and it's also good if you don't want that many new people. Now let's talk about the stadium. So first let's look at the entertainment, and we're going to compare it to the entertainment center. Now, in order to fill up the same space, you would need 1.5 entertainment center, and that actually gives you the exact same amount of entertainment. So on this, it's equal. So let's look at the next thing, and that's money. Well, entertainment center is actually a little bit better because it makes you 150 per 4 space, and stadium gives you 180 per 6 space. So it's a little bit worse space-wise. However, where the stadium kind of wins out people-wise because it doesn't really need that many people. So if you're looking like per person per day statistic, the stadium is quite better. However, I probably wouldn't recommend stadiums that much. I do like that they're very pretty and can be cool to build at least one of them so that you can utilize your tourists. But otherwise, you're probably better off with the entertainment center unless you're worrying about people. In that case, stadiums can be good. So the academy gives you 144 per day and has the best per tourist per day statistic, which I found really interesting because I wouldn't expect academy to be the best thing to make money per tourist, but it does, so that's really cool. And it's interesting, this gives you kind of like a little bit of everything. So far the previous things were mostly focused on one thing, you know, you could see that like Fountains were really good on aesthetics. Stadiums, really good on entertainment. Natural History Museum, really good on education. Academy gives you kind of like a little bit of everything. It's not going to trump any of the typical building for some. It's not going to trump court. It's not going to trump university for education. It doesn't trump kind of anything in this, but it gives you a little bit of everything. So this can be good if you're like maybe on 80% in education, 70% in medicine, and you just need to raise it up, but you don't actually have enough space to build one building for each category. So you can just put this in and be like, okay, I can get an increase in absolutely everything, and it makes you quite a bit of money, especially like you're utilizing your tourists in the best way. So that's kind of my sales pitch for the academy. Skyscrapers are really interesting because they allow people to live in them, so it's essentially like a residence, right? And allows up to 250 tenants. So again, let's compare it with the other residences we have. Now we know that the other residences doesn't matter which one you take. They're all like multiplication of the other 26, 52, 13, all good. So if you have a residential complex, it takes 52 tenants and takes 4 squares. If it's upgraded, it takes 80, but it still takes 4 squares. So it would take around, upgraded, it would in 6 squares, it would take 120 people, and the skyscraper takes 250. So this is absolutely the best thing for residential stuff. So if you have a city where you have a lot of people, now we have to be careful not to get too many people there, because then you have to pay social charges. They don't need any people to work, which is really, really nice. They make you 48 per day, which is not much compared to the other tourism buildings, but it's for absolutely nothing. It's just for the 25 tourists. It's, again, a very low amount of tourists as well, which is kind of cool. Next thing we're going to talk about is the ancient tree. Now the ancient tree makes you 240 per day. It is doing very well per tourist per day. It's not the best per tourist per day, but it's still very, very nice. And it gives you ecology, and this is very, very cool. Now, it also gives you aesthetics, but aesthetics is not, if you want aesthetics, do the fountain. It gives you 20 ecology, which is absolutely huge. The best part takes the same amount of space as the ancient tree and only gives you 12 ecology. And the air purifiers are a little bit better. They give you 6 ecology, so you need like 3 of them to give you the same amount as the ancient tree. But again, this makes you money, which is really cool. It gives you a little bit of aesthetics. So I would recommend building this because it's pretty. It's not a requirement. It doesn't have like such a high benefits as the other things that, but it's absolutely beautiful to look at, which is why I quite like it. Now, next thing we're going to talk about is the Grand Hotel. You can see it right here. Now, the Grand Hotel allows 180 tourists to stay there. Now, a regular hotel gives you 60 and only takes 1 space, so space-wise, it's actually much worse than regular hotels. Now, if we're looking at the money, regular hotels makes you 30 per day. Now, this makes you about 113 per day. So 3 regular hotels would give you 90, so it's a little bit better on money, but nothing too high. It's even the same on the workers, like regular hotel takes 7. So times 3, it's 21. This takes 20. So I probably wouldn't recommend the Grand Hotel. Like, it's cool to build because it's pretty, but it's not better space-wise. It's not better people-wise, and it's not really making you more money. It's making it's making a little bit more money, but like it's like a 10 extra per day, which is nothing too high. So the cool thing is the entertainment aesthetics. But again, if you want entertainment or aesthetics, you're better off building an entertainment or aesthetic focused building. So Grand Hotels, I cannot give you a recommendation for that. Sorry. It's not worth it. Now you might notice there's one more thing that we haven't quite talked about so far in the game that we haven't mentioned. It's nowhere in the tables or anything, and that's Oceanarium. Now Oceanarium does not create money, it actually creates fish. Now you can see how much it makes. 4 fish for 4 grain. And requires 60 tourists to work at highest efficiency. It also gives you 80 aesthetics, which is quite nice. But again, nothing compared to the fountain. And I do like the Oceanarium because if you have a city that does not have any water, so you cannot get fish naturally, you can use this to get a little bit of extra, which is quite nice. But I don't know if it's my highest recommendation. I think you probably want to use up the tourists for money more than for actually making fish. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, write it down in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.